Hello, and welcome to the Catholic Passage Podcast. My name is John Sandy, and I'm today's host. This podcast aims to pursue the truth, an authentic Catholic life, a deep integration of faith and reason, and a joyful community of families raising the next generation of the Catholic faithful. Today's guest is Paul Kolker, who is an actor and comedian from Dallas, Texas. He's also the host of the BeatiDudes podcast. I'm really excited to share our dialogue through this episode, whereby Paul and I discuss his background, life as an actor, faith life, and so much more. We hope you enjoy our conversation and that it might bless you in some way. Alrighty, hi everybody. This is John Sandy, and today as a guest I have Paul Kolker. And Paul and I go way back. I went to as many of you know, because you've heard me repeatedly as I've done these podcasts with former classmates of mine. I attended St. John Vianney Seminary in 2003 to 2007, or ish in there. And Paul, you happened to land from Texas somewhere in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I started in the spring of 2006, and so I think you finished maybe in the spring of 2000, or no, did you discern out maybe sometime right around there? Because I
Yeah.
was there through '07.
Yeah, so my last year, which would have been my senior year, I actually left the house or left the SJV, and my
Yeah,
senior year I finished off away from SJV, still at St. Thomas though.
that's right. Okay, because I remember seeing you around, but I was like, but I don't think you were in my graduating class that year of '07.
Right. And if I recall, '06 when you arrived, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think I was in Rome
Yeah,
during that year.
that sounds right. Okay, yes, this is all coming back to me now. Yeah, because I got there just in time to do the Hurricane Katrina cleanup, was what it was. We did the mission trip going down there because that had just hit in the fall of '05. And so then I come in doing that. And then as soon as we get back from that, they say, oh, yeah, and there are these guys who are in Rome. And I think, or maybe we did a send off or something for you guys, but it was like 8 or 9 of you, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, this is a fun trip down memory lane. This is cool.
Yeah, no, that's right. And because I would have gone to Rome with like Jim Barron, Nate LaLiberte, Tony Craig, that
Yeah.
crew, we were in Rome. And then when we came back, I was only back maybe for 4 months before, the summer break hit, and then I didn't come back that next year. So we would have had a short time together. But it's funny because I always kind of considered you guys, I always called it the Texas contingent. Like it was like this weird, like Father Bear was like awesome in so many different ways. But like, I don't know how he finagled this group of guys from Texas that all of a sudden just appeared at this Minnesota seminary. I mean, it was like four or five of you guys. It was one like Elliot
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It was Elliot, Patrick, and
Goffman. Yeah.
yeah, Gothman. Yep. And then the D'Ambrosio twins were
Oh,
there.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Paul, people don't want to necessarily hear me talk about my glory days, but like, who are you? Where are you? I said you're from Texas. You're still in Texas, but can you just give us a brief background on like who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So, born and raised in Texas, but landed back here after some period of time discerning in the seminary, as people may have gathered up to this point. But yeah, I'm doing acting and improv and commercial work, all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my mainstay on the regular. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, especially with strikes happening and COVID lockdowns. And it's like in 2020, I had this moment where I was like, this is going to be my year. I quit my day job in October of 2019 to go full time with acting. And then the world shut down. But yeah, but so I'm doing
Well, let's
acting.
slow this down a little bit because so like you're a seminarian at SJV and it's '07 and you graduate from St. Thomas,
Yeah.
and then what?
Well, so hold on. So it's kind of funny because the improv piece was still a part of seminary as well, because I was encouraged by some fellow seminarians and then also by, I think it was Father Akery, probably my spiritual director at the time, who said, yeah, you should go for it. So Blue Collar Comedy Tour was a big deal at the time. So we started an improv group in the basement of SJV called the White Collar Comedy Group. and, and we had a blast putting on shows for some of the guys in the seminary. And then apparently a couple of guys kept it going after that, which is a lot of fun.
And so, like, did you do acting or like were interested in that before you came to St. Thomas?
Yes. So growing up, I'd always loved movies. I loved stage stuff, whatever. I just always found myself gravitating towards plays at school or improv in high school. I got involved with. I auditioned one year, and well, let me back up a little bit. I heard about improv as a freshman, and it scared the poop out of me, and so I just felt like, okay, maybe I'll wait on that and I'll just do some plays. And then it got to be my junior year, and I said, oh, I'm running out of time. Like I need to actually go for this. And so I auditioned, didn't make it my junior year, and I was fairly bummed out for a little bit there. But then senior year they had another round of auditions, and I said I got nothing to lose, so I went for it, got it, had a great time senior year, learned a ton, kind of threw myself at that probably more than I should have as a senior, but it at least kept me from completely checking out as a senior in high school. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of fell in love with it at an early age.
Now, you didn't go to St. Thomas right away though. Like, where did you go after grad? Like where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Dallas area, born and raised in Coppell. It was a small town at the time. Now it's a huge suburb part of Dallas. The whole area is just grown. It's crazy how big it's exploded. But yeah, then I went to A&M for college, and A&M had a really thriving improv troupe, which was one of the attractions. I mean, they also had a really good Catholic center, so I knew I wanted to go to a school that had the faith as a major component, because I had in my sophomore year of high school, I don't know that I ever fell away per se, but it was kind of a reversion in the sense that like I it became my own, right? Like I knew the faith was more than just what my parents wanted me to know or what my grandparents wanted me to know. It became something that was real and alive, and I knew that God was real and loved me and had something planned for me. And so when I made that step to A&M, it was partly because, well, I mean, partly I had family who had gone there, so that was kind of cool to be part of that legacy, right? But then knowing that St. Mary's, right just north of the campus, was such a major factor or major player on the campus as well, and had hundreds at the time, if not thousands, of students who were actively involved in various ministries and apostolates and things like that on and off campus. And so I was like, okay, great. That seems like the right overlap of like familiar school with faith. And then I heard they had an improv troupe, and I was like, all right, I'm going to audition as soon as I get there. And that was one of the first things I did when I got to A&M. Didn't make it my freshman year. Had a great freshman year still, and then sophomore year I auditioned and made it, and I did that for the rest of my time at A&M before going into seminary.
So, like, break things down for me because I'm not familiar with this world other than I know, like, in Iowa, we have like speech class or like speech debate team. Part of that's debate, but I know one part of the speech program is like an improv. I don't know what that means. I don't know that it's probably comedy, but maybe it is. But like, so when you say you're part of the improv team at A&M, for example, like,
Yeah.
is it geared towards comedy only?
Yes, that one was considered a student organization, so it wasn't even directly affiliated with the theater program, although it had the blessing of the theater program, and they kind of worked together. So it wasn't mutually exclusive, but yeah, it was geared towards, hey, let's do what they do on Whose Line Is It Anyway, but do it for a college campus, and make it fun and funny, charge $5 a ticket. Use some of that money to invest in our own performers. Like we did trips to Chicago and LA to go take workshops and see shows and learn what like that kind of next level of improviser was actively doing at the time.
So you discern that priesthood's not for you. You leave. So you graduated St. Thomas in '07, but then didn't go on to major seminary, I assume.
No, I did
Okay.
2 years. Yeah. So I went on to the NAC for 2 years after that.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that actually.
yeah. So I just missed, oh, who was it?
And so that people know what's the knack, Paul.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, North American College. It's the college in Rome for American seminarians who are. It's a pontifical college, meaning it's sanctioned, blessed by the Pope, right? It's authorized by the Pope to say, hey, we want seminarians that are studying for their home dioceses back in their own country. We want them here close to the heartbeat of the church, right? So that they know, all right, here's who the Holy Father is. Here's one of the institutions like the Greg, the Pontifical Gregorian University, has been teaching seminarians and lay people for 500 years, so it's like we want people who can walk in the footsteps of the saints who walked in the streets of Rome, but then also sit in the seats of these universities where potentially, a number of the pastors of the saints or the saints themselves have sat and learned. And yeah, it was just an incredible experience to just soak all that in.
And that was for the Diocese of Dallas, I assume?
Correct. Yes.
And then, but discerned through that process that wasn't for you.
Yeah. Well, so it was obviously an honor to be sent to Rome and get to do all of that. But then I started to realize partway through, it hit me that this is all great and beautiful and wonderful. I'm not sure if I'm staying in this because I'm called to the priesthood or just because this is all great and beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah.
Because
I could definitely see that. Like, especially because you get just, if for people that don't know, seminary is very much like a system thing, right? Like once you get plugged into the system, it's such a routine and you got so many different like irons in the fire that unless you're deliberate about certain things, it's easy to just kind of go and
yeah,
and plug in and not and just kind of do the next thing without thinking about why you're doing the next thing.
the momentum gets you moving towards the priesthood, unless you're causing obvious trouble or something, and like there's real issues. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll start to help you discern out if stuff like that's happening. But if you're good and you're showing up, and I mean, who doesn't want to have a scheduled prayer life, and who doesn't want to learn some of this amazing church history, or get to talk to people in other languages that you're learning in the process. I mean, like, there's this glow around it, and then there's this momentum behind it, right? And so it's kind of like pulling the emergency brake on the highway when you try to discern out after being in seminary for 3 years.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is parish life isn't Rome, and so you always got to kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But you obviously, was it like when you stepped away, was it like I'm just going to take a year off type thing and figure things out, or was it like, nah, I'm done forever, I'm good?
No, so okay, it was kind of gradual for me. So when I stepped out, I didn't discern out per se when I left Rome. What I did is I said, I think I just need to do a pastoral year, because it wasn't a mandated thing at the time. Like, they didn't require us. I think it is now for the Diocese of Dallas, but they didn't require it. I could have just gone straight through all 4 years, been ordained, and come home, or stayed on for whatever the extra year is in Rome with finishing degrees and stuff. But anyway, point is, I said, all right, let me just do a pastoral year, live some life in the parish, kind of figure out if that rhythm is actually right. Because I felt like, okay, love Rome, that's great. But do I actually love the thing, or do I feel called to the thing that is going to be my daily life? And so that's where I said, hey, I hate to have to do this, but can I just do a pastoral year? Like, I think I need to do that sooner rather than later, because I'm supposed to be ordained a deacon in like a year and a half, and that's coming up fast. So yeah, so I did a gradual step, and then during that year, it wasn't like somebody stole me away from the seminary or whatever. It's just it there was a moment of like, gosh, maybe I'm not called to this. Maybe as much as I love so many things about the church, maybe it just isn't my call. And so I stepped away at that point, about halfway through my pastoral year.
Got it. And so then when you stepped away during that pastoral year, was that just kind of a recognition that celibacy maybe wasn't something you felt God was calling you to, or can you explain that for me?
Yeah, it at that point, I think it was more just trying to listen to the next step sort of moment, right? Like, I love that verse, thy word is a lamp unto my feet, right? And a light unto my path. So it's it's not that he shows us the whole road, but he gives us these kind of nudges along the way if we're trying to ask and discern and pray through all of that. And so at that time, all I could tell was just okay, yeah, I think I'm supposed to step away. Maybe I've been just going at this too fast, too furious. Didn't mean to quote a movie title there, but but I just felt like I was gunning for it, and that like almost like it was a box to check, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, I have to achieve priesthood, and I think God was saying to me, no, if you're called, I want you to receive it, right?
right.
And so part of it was him adjusting my attitude, I think, at the time towards his call in general, instead of saying, oh well, I'm going to go to the West Point of seminaries and I'm going to, like build a resume in the church. Is like, that wasn't the way that he really wanted me to do it.
Yeah. Well, then let me ask this. So you leave, the process of seminary and then leave the pastoral year and all that. I, and I mean, maybe the audience is like, gosh, guys, we don't care about this, but I certainly do. One of the things that I found, and this is one of the reasons I'm kind of tapped into the Alumni Association for SJV, which by the way, we have,
Yep.
but is because there is this sense of like, crap. I just devoted like, I don't know, the prime 4 or 5 years of my life now. I consider it the prime years,
Yeah. Yeah.
like being all in towards this one goal of being an ordained priest. And I haven't been focusing on like advancing my career or doing this internship in Washington, D.C., or working for this think tank, which will open doors here, or studying for the LSAT to go to law school. Like we weren't doing any of that, Paul.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you've left. All right, well, good luck. And now what? Like, because not that like we were inoculated while in the seminary, but they weren't really. I mean, obviously, a seminary is there in some ways, especially as you advance, with the goal of priestly ordination at,
Yeah.
at some level, right? At some level. Now we
Yeah.
can say no, we're trying to just build holy men, and yeah, that's true. But the point is you're not doing what other people are doing to advance their secular careers while you're in
Correct.
seminary. And so the reality is, like, once you decide to leave, you're sort of like, geez, I'm 18, just graduated high school now. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, where do I go? How do I figure this out? Like, and like, at least for me, I felt incredibly insecure. Like, my mom still laughs at the conversation because I came home. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to leave the seminary. And they still make fun of me about this conversation, by the way, like 30 years later. And I'm like, I'm leaving the seminary, but here's the deal. I need to get LASIK eye surgery. And they're like, LASIK? Why do you want LASIK surgery? Like, why do you want eye surgery? Well, I need 20/20 vision. I need to get corrected so I have 20/20 vision. It's like, why? Well, I looked at like the FBI because I'm
Hmm.
really interested in being an FBI agent. And like, apparently I need to have 20/20 vision, or I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Like, it was, and or I was thinking maybe of being a commercial airline pilot or something. I don't know, Paul. But like, I remember my mom thinking, like, you're crazy. Like, you're not getting LASIK. Like, figure things out. You're not getting a surgery on your eyes to like prepare you for a career you think you're going to go into. Like, just chill for a little bit. And you like take time to figure things out. But like seriously though, like I was grasping for anything. I mean, I was like, I was afraid I'm going to be a failure. And this, I mean this with all respect to people who take tickets at movie theaters selling popcorn, but I legitimately thought I was going to be a general laborer. I had a wasted philosophy degree. And I mean, I just was kind of like this depressive, like, man, I have no hope vocationally. Like that's how I felt.
No, and I think that's very real. And I think, and this isn't to like dog on the church, but I do think that a it's a tricky road to navigate, right? Because there's a certain sense when if you say you've discerned out, they kind of want to respect your space and your freedom, right? So that,
Right.
that it doesn't seem like they're trying to just lure you back onto that path again so they can, get their investments worth. Or, I'm spitballing here. Nobody's said that, but like, um, they definitely want to give you your space and give you some time and all of that. But then there's kind of the flip side of that space and time is that you're just kind of like you had all the resources going in and during, and now you're coming out and you're just like lost at sea and you got to figure it out. And it's all you, maybe your family, if you have supportive parents, or if you have, I mean, it can be extended family too. I'm not saying that, but like you're kind of just on your own. And like you said, lost. I mean, I felt the same sort of thing for a little bit there where it's like, well, maybe I wanted to do teaching. Maybe that was part of why I got into this in the first place, because I do like sharing what I've learned and know and all of that kind of stuff. So I did go the road of becoming a teacher at Jesuit, which was my high school in Dallas. And I did that for a little while, all the while knowing that I'm burying this passion of mine, which was the performance side, and treating it just like it was a hobby instead of saying, well, can I actually pursue this?
Yeah. Well, and I think I think the most jarring thing was when I left, it was one of those deals where it's like like basics first, right? Like what am I going to eat and where am I going to sleep?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reality is at home in the basement of my parents' house. So like just practical things like that are become like, oh, okay, well, what everybody says about somebody who moves into their parents' basement when they're 24,
Well,
like
exactly.
and
Yeah,
you just, but in reality, we didn't have the same preparation like most 18 and 19-year-olds who didn't have the commitment to the seminary to be able to do more long-term planning that way.
for
And,
sure.
and frankly, you don't want a seminarian who has one foot in, one foot out and is thinking about how can I advance how can I cover my basis if I decide this isn't for me? Because that's not really being fair to the process either.
Well, exactly. But and what I will say, because I don't want it to sound hopeless to anybody who's listening, like God does provide, and so if you take that risk on His behalf, right, to discern and determine if that's really what you're supposed to do, it's not like He just hangs you out to dry. But that transition period after seminary is just weird. It's hard because
Yeah,
go
and
ahead.
that circles back to my point, like which is the big point. Like, geez, you guys are making us depressed. Like, no, but the big point is Paul Kolker is now. I mean, I looked at your IMBD, dude. You got like 18 things. You're doing commercials. Were you on General Hospital?
I was on an episode of General Hospital. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, but like you're thriving. You got a podcast, the BeatiDudes, that's like, I don't know it's the Catholic ranking podcast, but it's like huge. And
yeah.
then
Thank you.
and then I'm not bragging, but this is to give glory to God, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm on the
yeah.
Court of Appeals. I mean, like, and then we both look back to that weird transitory time, and it's like, man, we both were like, if we would know then what we are now, could you
Yes.
imagine like how silly the whole thing is? But that just goes to show God is good, right? And
Amen. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that he unfolds the path. Like even if you go through these rough moments along the discernment process and all that. I mean, he's not outdone in generosity was what I always heard when I was discerning that process. And then it may not be on our timetable, right? It may not
right.
look like what we think it ought to look like, but he will unfold something after the fact if we've given of ourselves generously in that way to go discern.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, that's kind of the point too, is to look back on everything and just be he really does reward. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well,
Now, okay, so you're teaching at Jesuit. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
no. Well, or I can save it if we're going chronologically here. But there's another sort of glory moment there, an answered prayer related to the acting career piece of
I want to
things.
hear it.
Okay, all right. So the way the journey went, I'll give you just a brief rundown. I taught for 4 years. 2015 started working with a friend. I was trying to just get more of a day job that didn't have the crazy hours of being a teacher. Obviously, summer's great, right? But like during the school year, it's like your life belongs to the school kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
hobbies and things like that, I couldn't even pursue the acting and improv stuff that I loved as a passion. I couldn't even pursue it that way. So I got a day job at a friend's place, a friend's business, I should say. And so I was just doing kind of the clerical type stuff. It was an engineering firm, but I wasn't an engineer. So I could help with, reports and things like that. And that freed me up to be able to start to like go do improv in the evenings or, on the weekends or whatever and not be consumed with school activities and all of that. As much as I loved the school and as much as I loved the students, that part was enriching and great. And I feel like maybe I helped some of them on their paths. Side story there. One of the guys that I worked with on the what's it called, campus ministry on the campus ministry team. He is now a priest for the Diocese of Dallas. So that was pretty cool to like think that maybe I helped along his path. I'm not saying I caused it, but it's just like to feel like I helped kind of shepherd him along the way a little bit was a fun moment. So then start getting into acting a little bit more. Got my first agent in 2016. So that was when like the on-camera stuff, right, commercials and acting and all that, like actually started for me.
So like explain that. Did you just like cold call an agent and be like, "Hey, I think I'm good enough to try out for some of these auditions. You want to take me?"
So
Like, I mean, or was there like a build up where like there's like, a happy hour meet and greet or like you did like community theater or something. I don't know, Paul. Like, I mean, how do you even kind of start down that road?
that's a great question. It is a mystery to even those of us who are already in the industry. It makes no sense. There's no one path. I mean, everything you just described is a possible way to get into that world. So what I ended up doing was there was kind of a workshop that goes to a showcase, right? And so the point is that agents are looking for new talent all the time, but they want people who kind of know what they're doing. So there was this school, if you want to call it that. I mean, it was just like a weekend workshop kind of deal where they just give you sort of a crash course on like, hey, here's some of the things you need to know. Here's how you actually do a good headshot. Here's how you write up an acting resume, that kind of stuff. Here's where you can go find local films and short films and stuff to be in. So you build your network and you get some stuff on tape. And yeah, I mean, on tape. Showing my age here, but that's what they still call it that. Nobody puts stuff on physical tapes anymore. Yeah, so they walked you through it and then kind of put you in front of some agents and stuff. And so that's where I met my first agent, was at one of those workshop turned showcase. Yeah, and she's a local Dallas agent, and yeah, she got me in front of some people, so to where I was doing commercials for Ready Seal, like a stain and sealer, but I was kind of one of the mascots for a little while there, which was fun. Their tagline is "It's goof proof," so I got to play the goof, which
Oh, that's funny.
and I was opposite a Bob Vila type character who was always like either shaking his head or like explaining things to me, and it was a fun role to get to play, just get to be the goober on screen. So yeah, so did that for like I think we did a total of 8 commercials with that one, and then I got to be in a Toyota commercial through her as well, which it was a Highlander commercial. I was driving a Highlander, and you hear my thoughts of me describing like, oh, I love this thing, it's beautiful, my own spacious oasis. Then it flashes forward. I'm sitting on an island with a full beard and full long hair, and I'm like, that's what I miss the most. And that was the punchline essentially of the comedic spot.
The Toyota Highlander was your Wilson as you were like on the island by yourself.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
funny.
So so I've got to do some really cool spots along the way. Got to do some short films where I've worked with one of the actors from Office Space and like some people. Trying to think who else. Got to work with. Did you see the Dark Knight, the 2009 Batman Dark Knight?
Sure.
The gangster, the mobster guy, Falcone, or Eric Roberts. There we go.
Okay.
He was in that. I got to work with him in a independent feature film that shot in Texas. So
Okay.
that was pretty cool. So it's been a fun journey. And then kind of 2020 basically hit and killed all hope of anybody doing anything ever again, is what it felt like at the time. So in 2024, beginning of 2024, I still got little, bits and pieces of things here and there, but a lot of stuff shifted and changed. And there was also the COVID lockdowns COVID lockdowns, but then the strikes, right? So like Hollywood just wasn't working for like 7 or 8 months there in that next year after COVID, essentially. Anyway, so 2024, I went to a workshop in LA. I was just like, I'm gonna just fly out there, try to get in front of some people. Another workshop with casting directors and things like that. So my thought was, hey, get in front of them, learn what they're looking for one. So even if these people don't like me in particular, I'm learning something, right? So that I can hopefully get on somebody's radar. And while I'm there, the workshop went great, met some cool people, met the casting directors, had a really fun time in class. That was all great. On my drive back to my friend's apartment, so somebody I'd met over the years, he was letting me crash on his couch out there, which was fun. I'm driving back to his apartment, drive past one of the big like Warner Brothers studio lots, where you see the high walls, you see the water tower, there's banners hanging down that shows all their popular shows right now. And just in the car on that drive, I said, God, I just feel like with all the work I've put in, you know what's on my heart, you know what I've desired for a long time. I just feel like I ought to be able to show up at a studio as a part of my daily job. 2 hours later, I received two separate texts from guys in Texas saying, hey, Dr. Phil is looking for an opening act to warm up the audience before his shows here in Dallas. And they're like, do you want us to pass your name along? I was like, yes.
Yeah, I don't
like,
think about that. Yeah.
So yeah, I immediately said yes. And already I'm like, hold on, God, did you mean to act this quickly? This is a little weird. And then I get a call from the person they put me in touch with later that evening. And she says, hey, can you be here tomorrow? I was like, I'm flying back from LA tomorrow. Like, I didn't know that the gig would be in Dallas. Anyway, so I was like, I'm flying back. She said, okay, how about Tuesday?
Yeah, you went to LA to like get a gig that like now you can't get because you're not in Dallas where you just came from.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, but again, our ways are not his ways kind of thing. Like, I did not foresee the possibility that an LA production would be moving to the Dallas area. And so she said, what about Tuesday? I show up on Tuesday morning. I warm up the audience. I do it 2 different times for 2 different episodes, right? So I go out, do a shtick and whatever, and kind of interview the audience and do crowd work and get some people up on stage with me to do some improv games. And like, again, all just like youth ministry stuff on steroids, right? Where it's like, how do we break the ice with this crowd so that they're responsive to whatever the heck is going on in the next episode?
Right.
And I did get
Is that a thing, by the way? Like, can you tell a difference if you don't have somebody work with the crowd before you like, I guess I was completely oblivious to that.
No, yeah, this is apparently a long time tradition, like long time running thing for any live taped audience show.
Really? And it has a point. Like, it actually, they see a difference.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like
because
they're more prone to like ridicule the Catch Me Outside girl, on the Dr. Phil show if Paul like warms them up to hate her.
no, I mean but that is it, right? Like because especially in Dallas, what I noticed when I first started this is that you've got a whole group of people who have never been in a live studio audience before, right? And they're like, wow, this is in my own backyard? Fantastic. I'm showing up. I've watched Dr. Phil for 20 years. And then they get there and you can tell they're just kind of like, whoa, it's like bright, shiny lights and beautiful stage. And like, what is all this? And then I come out there, become a total goofball in front of them. And they might, like, I had an old lady flip me off one time at something I said. I thought I was just playfully roasting her. She took it way more personally, but like I turned my back and she's just, raising her.
Don't mess with Texas, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. No, Texans, they got, some attitude for sure. But yeah, but that even works, right? As long as I'm not taking anything personally, it's like the audience is like, whoa, what's happening? And then the next thing you know, everybody's having a good time. They're at ease. And then even if the episode might have been something about like the hurricanes that came through last year, right? And like, what was it, North Carolina and some of those places that were really struggling to recover. And so he might have had really deep, intense episodes, or it might be something about schools in Austin using AI as part of their curriculum, and then teachers being more of like coaches instead of teachers, right? Like, and shepherding that process. So he'd have all kinds of discussions on there, some that are more upbeat, some that are down low. But the point is, if the audience if they're nervous about the fact that they're in the audience because it's their first time ever doing that sort of thing, it's going to take maybe one full episode before they're even like clapping at stuff or letting out a woo or what, because sometimes you get those authentic responses from people depending on what the topic is. And like,
yeah, like, dude, you're onto something. Like, I think because like the situation you described where like people are off put, like they're there in a new environment and therefore like they hide within themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's called a jury trial. So like when no, but I'm serious. Like, so
Yeah,
you get like 90 people from the community to show up because they have to, because they
yeah,
got a jury summons, and then you pick 24 to come into a box, and you got to whittle that 24 or 30 down to 12, and
yep.
you're an attorney, and you're trying to get up to pick and figure out where people are at and why and what they think about topics based on the case you're presenting. And like I'm telling you, you're onto something. Like those jurors, some of them, like they don't want to talk. They want to get out of there. They especially don't want to talk about themselves if it's personal stuff.
Oh yeah,
And like the goal as an attorney in that environment isn't to win or lose your case. It's to try to break the ice with the jurors and build a rapport with them so that you can try to figure out who's going to be a good fit and not and why. You know what I mean? And
makes
it's
perfect sense.
crazy. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be a stand-up comedian during jury selection,
Oh,
but you
so
do want to try to draw people out is the point.
right, and start to see who they really are because
Yeah.
it's easy for them to just say, I just got to get through this. Let me just clam up and okay, but
Yeah.
so you're not hiring a jury selection warm up guy?
Yeah, no, I think though, Paul, I listen, if this doesn't work out, which clearly it is, I'm telling you, you need to go to law school. You'd be a great trial attorney. Great trial attorney.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And okay, so the Dr. Like, are you still employed for Dr. Phil then? I mean, like, let me like, did he love you? Did he like it?
Oh yeah, no. So it went well. My audition was that Tuesday, right? Which the audition was just doing the job. So they're like, show up, warm up the crowd twice, and go home. Later that day, I got a call. They said, "You're our guy. Do you want the
That's
job?"
awesome.
So so from my prayer on Sunday afternoon to Tuesday evening, I mean, God is faster than Amazon Prime by at least a little bit,
Maybe you can't talk about this, but why'd they lose their last warm-up guy? Did like he get eaten by a lion or something? Like what happened there?
Yeah, so I heard that. So first of all, they were, I think, cycling through a few different people trying to find the right guy.
Right.
Um, they had only started in December of 2023, so this is early February of 24, and so like a month and a half or 2 months has gone by that they've been recording episodes, and they kind of cycled through some people. The last guy that I heard of apparently showed up with only half of his face shaved, and and like was doing some off color comedy and stuff like that.
Like, well,
Just
we don't want to offend, like, hey man, this is, yeah,
yeah.
still a
So
family show.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. Like so, I mean, and it's not that Dr. Phil won't touch on topics that are difficult topics, but he's trying to keep it more in like that PG to PG-13 range
Yeah,
typically.
right, right.
Um, And so I show up clean shaven. I was wearing a suit. I was like, or at least a sport coat or whatever. I was like, I'm gonna look polished and everything. I get up there and I do all of that, and I think it must have been partly because of the contrast to the previous guy that they were like, thank you.
Yeah, that's funny. And so
Yeah,
are you still doing that?
I am. It's slower right now, which I got to a point in prayer where I was like, okay, Lord, the Lord gave and the Lord taketh away, right? Like, blessed be the name of the Lord. It's not. I say taketh away. It's not totally gone, but for whatever reason, they're not doing as many audience recordings. Like we were doing three days a week, 3 weeks a month for like all of last year, and now it's been like a couple times here and there, and so it's definitely a shift. And yet, I've already felt like some of the things that are showing up outside of that, the ways God's blessing me in other areas, it's just stuff is happening, but that's just slower.
Well, that's what I was going to ask because your IMBD like has an impressive list of stuff you've been involved with, and I understand like it might not be like a 6 month production where you need to be there every day filming. I get that,
Right.
but like, how do you balance? Like, it seems like if you're doing 3 days a week, that you have to be in Dallas doing stuff for the Dr. Phil show, and
Yeah.
you get a phone call for an audition. Maybe they do it all on Zoom now. I don't know, but
So
let's say
much
you
of it.
got to go to yeah, or whatever and then let's just say you get the job and they're like, well, we need you here for these 3 weeks. How do you coordinate that with doctor? Like, hey, you're going to not have me this month. I mean, that seems to be, you know,
Yeah. It is tricky. Thankfully for them, I guess I haven't had that problem until it started slowing down. So it's kind of that's why I'm saying like I feel like God's kind of the best agent, right? Like
yeah.
he can coordinate the events and stuff to actually help all of this shake out the way it needs to. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's just all daisies and roses or whatever. I mean, it's like there are definitely times where it's like, man, this is a dry spell. Like I would love to be booking more than I am, and trying to really just offer that as a prayer, right? Of saying like,
Right.
okay, let me try to be surrendered to this, and some days are better than others. I'm not claiming to be some perfect saint about it, but it's like but I think it is in that struggle where he's refining me in this particular way, to trust him more, right? Just to
Yeah.
say like, okay, and it's not even about, for me, it's not even about a dollar number, although obviously a certain amount is nice, right? Like a certain threshold, helps with the take home pay and all of that. But it's more just like, I just love doing this, and I want to do it in a way that helps give joy to other people, and brightens their day in some way, or makes them, like with improv, the goal isn't for me to be the star necessarily, although I obviously don't mind the attention, but like the goal is, how do I set somebody else up for success? And then like the scene becomes an amazing scene because I was reading off of what they're putting out there, and they're reading off of me. And so like we're tuned into each other so that it becomes more than the sum of its parts, instead of, hey, I'm going to show up and be the funny guy, and I'm going to make you look bad so that I look better, right? Like it's a totally different mentality.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And so, what is on the horizon now? So you indicated the doctor. Is there like an actual movie you're working on now, or like how does that all work, Paul? Like, do you have multiple things you're working on? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah. So, okay. So right now there are a few things that are both going on and developing. So one of the things is you mentioned it earlier, the podcast that I'm a part of. So
Yeah.
the BeatiDudes. So podcast for Christian men, right? Like the goal is, how do we live the gospel joyfully, and how do we grow in our faith by learning from and with each other, that kind of thing.
And I've listened to a few episodes, so I didn't know. I come to think of it, when I recalled like Christian men, it's not necessarily a Catholic podcast.
Well, yeah, we don't advertise that way, but it tends to become that because our network tends to be largely Catholic, right? So,
And so describe that. There's three guys, right?
yes,
Are all three Catholic?
yes, we're all. It's actually pretty funny. We're all three Catholic. We all went to Texas A&M at different times, so we never were at school at the same time there. One of the guys is class of 2000. I'm class of, or well, I would have been class of 2007 if I didn't enter seminary, right? And then the other
Right.
guy was class of 2013. So like we all missed each other, but so we have the common Aggie background. We all go to St. Anne's in Dallas is our home parish, and then yeah, we sit there and we're goofballs with each other. We kind of riff off of each other, but there's always a guest, and
Okay.
we're like trying to find out more about the guest. But then the three of us kind of get to anchor it so that you sort of always have the same flavor to the show.
So kind of like in some ways what we're doing now in terms of trying to get to know who you are, and just kind of a casual conversation about what that looks like and
Absolutely.
how that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a faith theme.
Yes, faith theme, and then we bake in some like stupid bits that we do, right? Where it's just like, hey, kind of like an icebreaker type thing, right? Where partway through the show we're like, hey, do you want to judge a game? And then we just do an improv game that they have.
It's funny you say this, because so my senior year of high school, I was we had a news break, which was like a production for the school only.
Yeah.
And like I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble. But like, and part of it was because the guy that like led it, like he liked me, and I think he had a problem telling me no, the teacher. And so he'd probably let me get away with more. But like I do stupid bits. Like one bit, I think it's probably off color. I need to be careful. But like at that time, so you graduated in '03 with me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So remember, I think 9/11 was '02. We were in Iraq in '03, no?
Something
Maybe
like that.
9/11 was '01.
Oh yeah,
But
oh one, and then '02. I think we entered.
so like our junior and senior year of high school, like we were actively in a military conflict, if I
Right.
remember, we were at war. I don't remember all the details now, but the
Yeah.
point is that like there was this song, I don't remember who sings it, it's a rap song, but there's like bombs over Baghdad, do do do
Oh
do.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That like that bit with like that song would open up, and then I'd act like I was like in the Middle East, and like reporting on like, what's going on. And I can't believe I got away with some of this. One time, like And then I'd always do like bits where I'd interview people like staff around the school. And so I'd like interview the janitor, right? Like as he's scrubbing toilets. And I'd be like, "Hey, is it real? Like tell us how crusty it is, And he'd be like, yeah. And like I tried being funny, but it sounds like that. Like almost like a Saturday Night Live Mad TV, like a podcast, but then we're gonna interrupt this broadcast and then bring some crazy funny skit or something funny, to lighten the mood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like the goal is, we don't want it to feel, and kind of go into Pope Francis, right? Evangelii Gaudium, right? Like the joy of the gospel. We don't want it to feel like, oh, well, if you're going to follow the church or believe the faith, like that means you got to be a stuffed shirt and everything's got to, get you down or be, frustrating or grumbling at the world or whatever. It's like, no, how about we let our light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who's in heaven, right? Like, why not just let some of that out? Because if we know and believe what we claim to believe, right, then there should be kind of an
Yeah.
overflow of joy.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Okay, so the BeatiDudes, like that's a
Yeah.
thing and like a big thing. So what do you guys do once a week? Is it like, or just as needed?
No, so we have done, it's technically twice a week, but it's one guest a week. So what we
Okay.
do, we record kind of a full episode, and then we do what we call kind of like a bonus episode or whatever. It's just going deeper with the guest, and so that one shows up on Friday.
Got it.
So the one that we do on Monday is usually the thing they're known for or might be known for, right? Like they wrote a book or they, navigated a crisis at their company or whatever the thing is, right? And we just kind of
Right.
give them a chance to share that story again. And then the second one is like, well, you said you had some, you know, trouble getting pregnant with your first child or whatever it is. And like, we might dive into that issue, or we might dive into, they have a miracle story or something. It's just like, let's find out a little bit more about who you are. And so we shoot it, or we record it as one kind of long episode essentially. But then we break out that last part.
Got it. Okay. And you guys have like a studio? Like, because right now we're Zoom, right? But
Yeah,
like, so the guests have to come in person.
that's the way we want to do it on purpose. It was by design, because we just you feel that sort of kinetic energy, for lack of a better word, when you're just right there next to each other. Like you and I have known each other for years, so I feel like this is a little different. Like you can still
Yeah.
kind of get the energy through Zoom, but if I'm just meeting the guy, it helps me to like have that person right
Right.
there. And
Right.
and for all of us, and we just want it to feel more like it's guys sitting around a campfire or sitting,
Right.
you know sitting on a back porch or whatever it is, right? But it's the goal is just we're sitting there sharing conversation. Sometimes we drink beers on it because we interviewed the guy who runs a brew house, and so he brought us a bunch of beers, and it's like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, the funny thing though is I bet you have stories, although ones you can't share on a recorded podcast about like, yeah, but there was that one guest who like, remember, dude, it was like pulling teeth to get him to even like smile. Like,
Oh
or like
yeah.
weird, there has to be some weird exchanges. No, I don't want to comment. No comment necessary, Paul, because like I don't, yeah, but like that's awesome though. Okay, so like that's a bit okay, so like this just shows my ignorance because I always do this Catholic Passage podcast is like just service to the church and just like to help. I don't know. Like it's good to have content out there, but like I don't expect any reward or monetization of that. But I know like the Kelsey brothers, dude, their podcast, I think they're peddling it right now for like a couple 100 million, if not more, to sell that off, like the New Heights pod. Like, is there a monetization of that or anything? Or no, it's just
No, yeah. We've been blessed to have some sponsors, like people who believe in what we're trying to do. And so, but it's people that align with what we're trying to do anyway, right? So, and I know people might have different perspectives on whatever ones I'm going to say, but like there's Aquinas Wealth Advisors. And so their whole deal is like, how do we help you figure out if your investments actually align with your beliefs, right? Because there's so many companies who are taking the money that they get from investing and they're funneling it towards causes that maybe we don't line up with. And so like they do a whole thing that helps you, figure
so
out if
I'm
you're investing.
and I'm assuming like any radio, like syndicated radio show, like you like Sirius XM, you hear this all the time, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
you'll throw out the sponsors. Like, thanks for our sponsor, Aquinas, like as part of the podcast, as part of the sponsorship.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we record. We tell them like, okay, but can we do the ad in our own way? And then we
Right.
banter it, and we kind of improvise the commercial.
Yeah.
Uh, and we shoot it like 6 or 7 times, and then the 7th time is usually like, that was it, cut, print, let's go. And
Got it.
yeah,
Okay. So so for these corporations that have maybe a more Catholic or Christian mindset, it's also part of their marketing campaign.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they
I
know
mean,
you have the viewership. I mean, that's really at the end of the day, it's the viewership that drives the money.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have had people like we get a link, right? Like they give us a special link, and so we've gotten reports that it's had decent traffic at least coming through our link. So it's like,
Okay.
so they're happy. So then they re-up, and
Yeah.
it's not like it's paying salaries for the 3 of
Right.
us or anything, but it's like it's a nice little quarterly bonus and stuff. Where especially for an actor who's like going through ebbs and flows, it's like some months are good and some months are not as good, and it's like, yeah, no, I'll take that bonus this month. That's great,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
And so then what else do you got in the hopper?
Okay, so every weekend I perform with a group called 4-Day Weekend, and it's named after one line in The Simpsons. It's not because we do 4 shows a weekend. It's the guy who founded it loved the line when Homer Simpson is sitting there. Marge says, "Homer, your boss just called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in on Monday." And then he goes, "Woohoo! 4-Day Weekend."
That's awesome. I'm a fan of The Simpsons. I grew up watching that. So
Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
so literally, the guy was just, our founder David was just sitting there like, "Huh, I like the sound of that. Like, I'm going to use that as a troop name if I ever come
4-day
up."
weekend. Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But so that's every Friday and Saturday night. I do one show Friday, 2 shows Saturdays, and then we have corporate gigs and stuff that I'll travel for. Like I've been to Phoenix. We did one in Indianapolis just
Is that
recently.
4-day weekend? You guys travel together? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So like corporations will hire us to come out and put on a show, and partly because they want it to be HR approved, right? Like they know that we can do kind of that PG to PG-13 range, so that it's not just somebody getting up on stage and saying unsavory words for 30
Right.
minutes, right? Like
Right.
anybody can do the shock value stuff, and I get it. It does get a laugh, and I mean it depends on the audience, right? But like that kind of stuff can get a laugh, and what
It can
have you.
also get you sued at the corporation party for a hostile work environment. So,
Correct.
you
which,
know,
which is why they bring us in, because they know we know how to put on a show that's funny but still, and it's not that it's G-rated, right? It's not like it's Disney for for 5-year-olds or whatever, but we know where the line is, and so it's like we know how to kind of dance up near it and then kind of back off, and like
yeah.
but keep it fun and light and funny for everybody. And so that's kind of the mainstay in terms of an ongoing gig, because that's
Got it.
multiple shows a month. And before that, it was both Dr. Phil and 4-Day, and now it's a little more 4-Day heavy with the schedule at Dr. Phil. But the two of those are kind of the mainstays.
So can I ask a question? And like, it's not that I'm being condescending. I don't know. But like, if there was a dream gig, like a dream role for you, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's working with a particular producer on a particular topic. I don't know, Paul. But like, of course, I'm asking this question assuming it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it has. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, assuming it hasn't, what would that be? What would that look like?
Man, I mean, like the dream would probably be something with Christopher Nolan as a major player in one of his movies.
Yeah.
Um, I
Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight, did he not?
He did, yeah, he did.
And
So
a few other, I can't remember some of the other stuff, but like,
Inception, he did
yeah,
that one.
oh, yeah, right.
Uh, uh, well, man, hold on. Interstellar.
Yeah.
Interstellar is one of my favorites. I man, I could do a whole podcast on just that movie because I love it so much and I've seen it probably too many times. But something of that level, because he seems to be one of the last writer directors who just really he's willing to take risks, right? So it's not just a sequel to another movie that was successful 10 years ago or whatever. So he'll try something completely different. And sometimes that doesn't work, and I get it, right? So he's had some, he's not batting 1,000, right? He's had some misses, so I get that. But yeah, but he's willing to take risks. He tries something different. He's creative. He does different weird things with his movie, like Inception, right? Like this idea that you're bending dream worlds and whatever. And so he plays with stuff that I just find really interesting, but he always has kind of some philosophy and theology loosely woven in there, which I think is I think he has Anglican upbringing. So it's like there's a little bit of that kind of playing in, and just the quality of the films. I love watching most of his stuff.
So, like, have you made pitches? Like, so let's say that you heard your agent says, "Hey, Christopher Nolan's has something. He's doing. There's a casting call." Like, do you go out and like try to attempt? Like, I mean, I don't know. How does that work? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. So there hasn't been one like that for me for Christopher Nolan, and part of that is that he tends to only select from like A-listers at this point anyway. So that's why I
that
say like,
changes now, though. Paul, here's the deal. I'm gonna give this podcast episode. I'm gonna find out who's affiliated with Christopher Nolan. I'm like, dude, you got a fan in Dallas. You need to give a break to.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's make
And then
it happen.
if I get sued by him because he doesn't like the product of my work, I'll come back to you as well. So
Yeah, right. That's right.
no, no, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. What I have gotten auditions for is some of the smaller parts. Like I say, smaller. They're speaking parts. You might be a recurring character, but you're not the main character, right? And so that's kind of the level where I'm finding myself right now in terms of bigger productions. So one of them, I can't say which part, but I don't think I got it because it was a few months ago now, but I auditioned for the new TV series that Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are doing in Texas. That's loosely based around their lives, and I was auditioning for one of the smaller recurring parts in that show. And so things like that will come across, my desk or whatever, where it's like, record yourself doing these lines and send it in.
Dude,
And
how could McConaughey not cast the Dallas guy?
well, there might be an Austin guy that he just liked more. I mean, because he's shooting it around Austin and he's from Austin, right? Like, so there's all kinds of things. I mean, some of the casting people are like, that guy reminds me of my ex. And so, and that's it. I mean, it's so fickle that way, which is really frustrating. So you just try to do the best work you can. You try to show up and deliver usually ahead of time, right? And then try to be a joy to work with, because then people don't want to get rid of you.
Well, and so many times when I've heard like actors like stories about how they got to where they got to, they kind of like reflect the fact that like they're at where you're at, and then like one role, who would have thunk it, like
Yeah.
changed the trajectory of everything forever. And it was like that one role that just it's what did it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was even Chris Pratt said that after he became an overnight success after 10 years of hard work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because it was that kind of thing for him where he was in all of these just smaller productions and whatever. And he was doing fun roles. It wasn't bad necessarily. And they're probably paying roles, but like he just met the right casting director. And then they're like, I like your sense of humor. And then that's when they put him in Parks and Rec. And then everything blew up for him after that.
Wow. All right, last question then is
Yeah.
like, okay, let's say you hit it big. I mean, bigger than what you are now. I'm not saying you're not big right now, Paul.
No,
Again,
yeah.
let's say it's like just world famous, right?
Okay.
Do you ever get the sense like I think at least in the Midwest, there's this sense, or at least in Northwest Iowa, that like, hey, the Hollywood's woke, and like you got to sell your soul to Satan if you want to be in the industry type thing. Like,
Yeah.
is there any sense like do you ever get the sense that like, okay, but like if I do go down that road and become really big, do I have to sacrifice what's so important to me, my ethos, or do you think that's just kind of a misnomer in the industry?
Well, I don't think it's a misnomer. There are definitely things that I've told my agent and stuff that's like, look, I'm sorry. Like, I probably could portray that character, but I don't know that I do the best job at it. Like, because I'm just not super comfortable in that kind of role. I mean, and it's not always like, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. It's not always that I would be in a morally compromising situation, like, because I have played kind of the villainous character before, right? And so there is that side of it where it's like, well, even this isn't really my strong suit, right? Like I'm more the goofball or kind of the best friend or maybe the leading man, depending on the role and stuff. Like there are those kinds of things that would be better roles, but then there are some that it's like, well, it's maybe not as comfortable for me, but it's not morally an issue, right? Like I'm not portraying immoral things or having to like basically do immoral things, right, on camera, which so I mean, there are some where I've had to just turn them down and say like, yeah, no, I like, and I always try to play it off as like, hey, I'm really sorry. I just don't know that I'd be the best fit for that. I don't try to come across as condemning of my agent or whatever, but just like, sorry, I gotta draw a line
Well,
there.
well, and the biggest thing that comes to me is like I love Mark Wahlberg and like I love how like different things he's involved with and he takes so seriously his Catholic faith. I just think he's inspirational.
Yeah,
I mean, Boogie Nights isn't a movie that I'd let my kids watch, that's for certain.
right.
I mean, so I mean, there is, you know what I mean? Like there is that part of it, and I'm not condemning Mark for doing that. And that was, look, that was a very popular movie, a lot, but like it's a disturbing movie too. But like, is there this sense, like in Hollywood, like if you do take your faith seriously or are conscientious about that, like you're blacklisted?
I in certain avenues, probably. Yeah. So it is tricky, right? Because like so going back to seminary days, right? The word witness comes from the Greek word martyr, basically, right? Like the Greek word for witness is martyr and vice versa. So it's like if you witness to the faith, you kind of have to die a little, and sometimes that means you die to certain possibilities. So there's that piece of it, yes. But what I will say is, I think that there is a growing number of avenues and opportunities for people who want to do something from a more, even just from a more wholesome standpoint, right? Not even necessarily faith based, but people are just like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of tired of, you know, teen witch covens on Netflix. Like, let's, can we do something different?
Yeah,
And
right.
like all that really dark, terrible stuff that seems to seep into Netflix and there's other channels too and all of that. But like, and again, not trying to judge any of the individuals involved because some of them may not be aware of where it's all coming from, but it's just they're playing with fire, right? Like some of these things are definitely playing with fire, and you're just like, man, I don't want to do that. But then you've got things like Angel Studios that's growing, that's like producing some big hits, right? Like movies that are getting out there and doing better than some of the mainstream stuff these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, like
So,
Cabrini, I thought was really well done.
so what I would say is it's kind of a yes and no sort of answer. I mean, there's definitely still that piece of the puzzle where it's like you have to be prudent and prayerful about, which avenues you go down, but then um, there are more and more opportunities that I'm noticing for people who just want to either laugh at some wholesome stuff or laugh at ourselves or have a good time or just be entertained, but not like in some weird anti-hero way. It's like people are wanting more, they're craving more of the kind of wholesome stuff again.
Yeah. Well, Paul, you've been an awesome guest. We're over an hour at least by my clock. So,
Oh shoot, you're right.
yeah. I mean, but the conversation's been really natural and great and fascinating. I mean, I
Thanks,
could
man.
talk to you for hours, Paul.
Right back at you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the work you're doing is God's work and it really is. I mean, because it's not overtly sanctifying, but it's showing that this can be done in this way, that you can do it the right way, and you've done it the right way.
Thanks, man.
And again, it's a testament to the fact that, going through that process and taking your faith seriously begets blessings, and not for blessing's sake, not for selfish sake, but to build up the kingdom. And the kingdom is multifaceted, right? It's an actor, it's the opening act of Dr. Phil or judge on the Iowa Court of Appeals. And it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool thing to behold. So,
Well, and God said be salt and light, right? Like, and I know in for disciples, right, which we're called to be as well, but like for pastors of parishes and even associate pastors and what like it's maybe a little more obvious, or for nuns, right? It's a little more obvious, but we're still called to be that salt and light wherever God places us, wherever we find ourselves. And so that witness can still happen. And I've had some crazy moments of just out of nowhere, like a fellow actor on a commercial will call and leave me a voicemail and say like, man, like I could just tell that thank you for being you. And like, like, it blew me away when I got that message. And he and I are still in touch on Instagram and stuff. But yeah, it's like, I didn't necessarily say anything that was like, have you accepted our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Right. But like, he can tell that I'm coming from a place of trying to live it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like trying to live it authentically on a daily basis. And it does show up for people, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah. Everyone's watching in some way.
Yep.
And yeah, no, beautiful witness. Paul, you're the man. Thank you so much. And I hope to have you back again at some point. And I'll make sure that a copy of this podcast gets to Nolan's camp. Let's make it happen, baby.
Love it. Thank you.
See ya. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Catholic Passage podcast. And we hope that it blesses you. Please check out our show notes for a reflection takeaway, as well as more info on Catholic Passage. We aim to support parents and educators as they pass on the Catholic faith and the way of life to their children and students. To find out more about what we offer, or how you might collaborate with us, visit CatholicPassage.com. Most importantly, you can support us through your prayers. We'll be praying for you. Please pray for us.